Welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and today I thought we'd go through a little bit of, you know, chainsaw safety. Keeping yourself as safe as possible when using chainsaws. What I can tell you is things can happen in a split second, and you can say it will never happen to me, but it will. It's not if, it's when it does it that will get you. So the first thing I thought I'd go over is the gear, that you should be wearing. And we'll start off with just simply your clothes. I recommend that you don't wear loose fitting clothes. Anything that can get caught, and make it a little more dangerous than it should be. So on safety, get some of this stuff moved around. Let's go with the first thing, eye protection. These here are safety glasses that are clear, but they don't have the sides. And what I find a lot of times when it comes to your eyes, it's the chips and the sawdust that comes through and it gets caught and it catch you inside where it gets you on the inside of the eye from a different angle. That's where these are a lot nicer, and these come in clear or sunglass, darker. I like these because most of the time, like today, I'm going to be doing some work on a woodlot for a customer doing some land clearing, and these would be the ones I'm wearing because it's sunny out and it kind of dampens it. The other thing is a good set of chaps. And basically what you got is you got a protection layer in there that the chain hits this, it won't go through and get you. And I don't have any pants anymore, but I've been nicked and I've been cut. And I don't know if you can see this, but and we're going to go through it. I had this chainsaw yesterday throw a chain, okay? And I use this a lot for the brush. And that's where you're going to throw a lot of chains, is when you're in around brush, if you're not keeping your chain sharp or your chains tight. But here, that's where it kicked back and caught this. Now, had I not been wearing my chaps, that's just below my groin on my leg. You look over here, there's another thing out of it. You can buy these for right around $50, all right, on eBay. Matter of fact, I just bought Claude a set because he was helping me with this woodlot that we're doing land clearing. I have him on the mini excavator most of the time, but he's got his own chainsaws as well, but he isn't one that uses one a lot, okay? And I start to see problems where you're in there and you're starting to get tired, and instead of taking a break, you keep pushing. That's what he was doing. And he caught his leg, his pant leg, and just a little bit of meat. Thank goodness it wasn't any worse than that. But I'll tell you, the minute I found out that he was running the chainsaw up there on that woodlot, I went right over onto eBay. It's $49.95. Nice fluorescent orange, brand new chaps that he has now got in his truck, and he damn well better have them on if he's around me when we're doing wood, because this can save your life. They're a little bit cumbersome. I mean, they're easy. They just snap into place, and then you just let's do it this way. Throw it on. And then you just come down and do each leg. So you got that, and they just snap together. I get my pant leg out of the way. Then do the other side. Just takes a minute to put them on. Alright? Swing them around. See, now if you look, here's where the cut was. Was right here on this leg. Alright, so you got chaps on, okay? That's going to protect this. The other thing you want is a good set of gloves, and I recommend leather or something similar, because these chains are sharp, okay? And if you're wearing just jersey gloves, you can still get cut. Takes a little bit more when you got a set of gloves. And you can see where one of the saws where I carried it, they're sharp, they'll cut right in. So I always recommend a good pair of leather gloves. We've already talked about safety glasses. The other thing is hearing protection. Now, there's a lot of different hearing protection out there. I like these because they have music. So I can just put them on, turn the music on, listen to it while I'm doing chainsaw work. You can get it with just the muffs. You can get it with a hard hat with the muffs. You know, it's up to you. I mean, you also have the ear plugs, and when I was in the mines I used to run the ear plugs and the ear muffs on top of that, which were attached to my hard hat. Now I'm not wearing a hard hat with the stuff I'm doing right now because it's all pretty small. It's just simply cut and tip it over. The other thing you want, a good scabbard so that you can cover up the chain when you're not using them. 2 reasons. So that they're not coming in contact with something to dull it, but more so that you're not getting cut when you're handling it. It's protecting the blade, protecting anybody else that might be around that piece of equipment, okay? I don't have with me my normal go to the woods bag, or I would show you, but wedges. I've got the smaller ones, and I've got the hammer that hooks right onto my belt. And if you get into the bigger stuff and you're trying to force it a certain direction, you cut your notch in the direction you want it to go, and once you start going in, pop that in, hit it with a hammer and drive it in, go a little farther, keep hitting it in so that you're pressuring that tree to go the direction that you want it to go. But I got this, and I've got like 4 or 5 of the smaller ones that are like about that long, and they come in handy. Alright, so that's kind of the safety aspect of it. Like I said, this chainsaw here, these both are my chainsaws. And I've got, I don't know, 9 or 10, but these are my smaller ones that I use when I'm cutting brush, where I know that I'm not going to encounter big stuff. Let me get some of this stuff up. Some of the other tools that you should be carrying are simply spud wrenches. They come in all different shapes, sizes, and most often the case, if you buy a chainsaw new, they'll give you one of these to go with the saw that matches the spark plug and also the side panel, so that you could take the chain off, put a chain back on, etc., etc. I like carrying a screwdriver, you know, a flathead screwdriver, and I also carry files with me. And like I say, my bag, I got a flat file in it, and then I got a raker file and a raker gauge. So the other thing that I want to cover, let me get some of this stuff out of the way here. is being asked this question, and it's a good question, okay? How do I know what to get for my chainsaw when it comes to chains? And a lot of people that are novice, that don't do this on a regular basis, think a chain is a chain, right? And it's not. There's a lot of different variations of just chains. And the one that I recommend to my customers are the low kickbacks. I don't want them with chisel, if you're not experienced. And like you take this, MS 170, and this is the 250. Now, if you went on to eBay and typed in MS 170 chainsaw chain, how do you know if you're getting the right chain? See, now, right from the dealer, I bought these new. This one came with a 16-inch bar, and I didn't want the 16-inch bar on it because it was just too long. I wanted something that was short, easy to get around on the smaller stuff. So I replaced that bar with a 14-inch. And this one here actually will bolt right onto here and is a 12-inch. I can get it right down to 12. And this one here is a 14. And then you have like Oregon. This is a 20-inch for the bigger chainsaws. So you need to match the chain to the bar, not the chain to the saw. And how do I know how to get the right one, right? If you look on every bar, whether it's an Oregon bar, steel bar, rotary, it will tell you the gauge. Like this one here is a 0.5 14-inch, and it takes the 50E chain. So I just need to look if I'm dealing with Oregon bars just to match it up to the 50E package. And this 50E is 3/8 pitch with a 0.05 gauge, and this chain will fit this. Now this one here is the 55E for the 16-inch. And steel has it on their bars as well. Sometimes you gotta look. Yeah, right here. So this is a 3/8 by 0.043, and it's a 16, and that's what this one's going to call for. And when they say 55E, they're talking about how many drive links there are on that chain. So this chain will fit this one. See, Country Line also has chains that you can get at Tractor Supply, and this one here is for a 20-inch, and it lists a lot of the steels, right through the MS290. But I wouldn't recommend this chain to you guys that haven't had a lot of experience. And why is that? It's because it says full chisel. And full chisel, what that means, it's got the low kickback. So you're not getting this way. But the full chisel is she's digging and going, okay? So get this out of the way, get this out of the way. Put this over here. All right, so we sell this anyways. If you're looking for, whether it be Rotary brand, Oregon. We're a dealer for Oregon. I got guys that, swear by Oregon. They will not buy anything but Oregon, and that's fine. But this stuff is about twice the price of this, right? And I go for cost and also durability. And I'll tell you, my saws go through a lot. I have to update my saws probably every 4 years, because by then I put so much runtime on them that it's either a rebuild or just go buy a new one. And a lot of times I can get these sold for half what I paid for them and put that towards a new one. And for your typical homeowner, if they buy that saw for me, it may last them a lifetime. But to somebody that's using it all the time, no, it's not going to last. Alright, so let's get over here and show the correct way to fix the problem I got with my chainsaw. Leather gloves. I know it's kind of bulky when you're working on it. It's going to save your hands. So loosen up these nuts. And since the chain kicked off, I want to take it completely out and see what's going on. See if there's any damage to that chain, sprocket. Alright, so it looks like we just had some hay, weeds, everything else get caught up in it. It caused it to jump. So it didn't hurt the sprocket. The sprocket's good. Here's another thing that you need to be aware of if you're just starting out. Alright? The teeth are facing this way, right? Because they're going to rotate in a clockwise position. So when you put it on, just up there. This is how I do it. And I get it onto the sprocket, and then I start tightening my chain up into it. Okay, oh, you didn't go in. Just like that. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to loosen the adjuster. And I'm loosening this screw right here. That's the adjuster. And I'll show you on the other one where it's different. Get the chain in. Like that. But you want your teeth facing this direction. I've had chainsaws, and I'm not kidding you, I've had chainsaws come in where guys would tell me that it won't cut. And for whatever reason, they took the chain off, whether it fell off or whatever, and they just simply put it on backwards so that the teeth were facing in the wrong direction. Of course it's not going to cut. There's no way it can cut, right? And I don't make the guy feel like he's stupid, but somebody along the way didn't teach him how to properly put a chain back on a chainsaw. And I know a lot of dealers, I mean, you can go into Tractor Supply, Lowe's, Home Depot, buy yourself a saw and walk out and have nobody tell you anything about that chainsaw and how to safely use it. And that's why I always recommend that, of course these guys are a little cheaper at the big box stores, but if you go to a dealer that deals with this, 99% of the time those guys are going to take the time with you to show you the safety features, how to put a chain on, how to run the saw, what to watch out for. They're not just throwing that piece of equipment at you and saying, go have at it, right? And while you've got that apart, that's why I like a screwdriver, is we're going to clean all this crud up. Because that's going to affect the oilers too. If you get too much crap in here, you can blow it out with the air gun. Just go through and get the worst of it anyways. And I see there's some right there in the oiler too. And then just simply put that back on, put your nuts on, other nut. My goal is to at least teach one of you how to do it safely and do it the right way. If I can get more than one, more the merrier, right? Alright, so we're not going to tighten these up snug, tight. We're just going to bring them up so they got a little bit of pressure on them. Because I want that bar to be able to move, right? So what we're going to do is right here is the tightener. And what we want to do is we want to take and tighten that chain. And as you're tightening it, you can see the bar moving out. And the chain is getting tighter. You want it. See, the other thing is that a lot of guys don't realize is that when they're doing this, they just take it out so that it's tight there, and then they'll tighten it right where it is. And what happens is if you tighten it where it is, that bar is going to come up on you because you're cutting into wood, so you're putting down pressure, which is pushing up pressure on the bar. So when you go to tighten your chain, you want to lift that bar up. And what I do is I just simply tip it forward, so I'm putting weight on that end, and then tighten it up. Alright, so now we want to take and just pull. It can get, I want it a little tighter than that because it's you want it so that the bottom of the chain is able to I gotta loosen these back up because I want them to be able to let that bar move. There we go. Alright, so again, tip down or pull the chain up, the bar up. Tighten your front one, tighten your back one, and just recheck. And I want it so that the bottom of that chain is just visible. If you have it very loose and you're doing what I'm doing with it, basically is cutting the smaller brush and everything, that chain is going to kick off. It's going to come flying off, and you're going to find that it happens a lot. Now the other thing that I see happening too is a lot of guys will throw a brand new chain on, tighten just the way we did, and then go out to the woodlot and start cutting with it. But with a new chain, once you take and rev it up 4 or 5 times, full blast, let it run, with that chain being new, it's going to stretch a little bit. So you want to do that and then recheck. And you want to keep track of that anyways. What I do is usually every time I have to go fill up the fuel, I'm checking the chain to make sure that the tension is still good. Starting to get sloppy yesterday. It was getting towards the end of the day, and that's when accidents happen, right, guys? That's why you wear your chaps. So, if you're dealing with steels, I mean, these two girls are just about the same. If you're going to start it, you just push this piece down, pull the trigger, and then take that all the way to the bottom. Same thing with this. You're going to push it down, go all the way to the bottom. With steel, I found the best way to do it is crank on it until you get that first little rumble where she tries to start. At that point, stop. Pop it up one thing from full choke into just the run, just below the run position. There's a notch in there that allows it to, if you click up once, it allows the throttle to stay stuck full throttle, but it takes it off choke. And usually the first or second pull after that, she's running and running good. And let her warm up a little bit before you go in and just start cutting. Now, the other thing I can tell you with a chainsaw, I mean, each one is going to be a little bit different, but they've all gone, you know, with the anti-kickback was one of the best things that they ever did. And when you're, which means if you hit something, a piece thing, and it pops your hand forward, it stops that chain from moving. It's a chain break. And it's one of the biggest safety issues that was corrected by a lot of the companies that were selling saws. See, now I was telling you on this one, we're simply adjusting the chain here. This one, we're adjusting the chain here. And it's right there. But the same philosophy is take your two nuts off, clean the cover while you got it apart, back it off so that you can get it, the bar, the chain on the bar, and it's on the sprocket, and then leave these snug but not tight so that you can tighten the chain here until it gets to the point of where, see, this one's right there. That's where I want it. And this one is all ready to go. I use this on the bigger stuff because it's heavier. Now, I always say match the person with the saw. And if you're getting up in years where your upper body strength isn't the greatest, I'll tell you, these 170s, you know, are great. They'll do a lot of what you want to do. You can get up to a 16-inch bar on that if you want it. These are more, because you have a sprocket. It's either a 6-tooth or a 7-tooth. And the only difference, that's the piece that the chain runs on. The only difference is speed over power, okay? The 7-tooth will rev up, will spin the chain faster than the 6-tooth. But if you do like me, where you spend a lot of time, you want power to go through the logs, the 6-tooth is perfect. And the two different types of sprockets that they come in, when you have the cover off, you have the spur sprocket, which is the drum, and then it's got a bearing on the inside, and then you got the rim that sets in, and the chain rides inside these teeth and the grooves instead of the teeth that are here. See, that's a 6-tooth, as we talked about, with the difference between the 6 and the 7. You know, They're also making the 7 and 8. So, but those are the two different styles sprockets that come on these saws. Come on saws that you may see. So hopefully that's kind of helped some of you guys out there today, you know, on what to look for. And like I say, when I say each saw is different, read the owner's manual. Because I mean, I've got some of my bigger saws are the Husqvarnas. You know, I think it's, I don't even dare say without looking. And I've also got the steels right up to the MS 290, the old Farm Boss. But when you match the saw to the person, and then you have to match the bar and chain to what you're doing, right? The application. If you got a load of logs and they're huge, and you know you can't get through it by cutting this way and this way with a 16-inch bar, you may have to increase it. But if you're cutting smaller stuff, the tendency that I see with people that aren't really experienced with a saw is they spend more time having the nose into the dirt, stones, what have you, than, you know, going with something smaller and avoiding that. As far as sharpening these saws, the way I do it is I sharpen them every other tank fill up, if that makes any sense. My way is not the right way, okay? There's so many different ways you can do it, but my way is I'll run the saw, I'll know it's sharp, I'll run the saw, run it out of fuel, fill it back up, run it again until it runs out of fuel, and at that point I stop and I take the time to file each tooth, and then I have a raker depth gauge that I can set right on these teeth, and it will allow me to take a flat file and just do the raker. The raker is just ahead of the cutter on the saw. It's part of the tooth. And that raker's main goal is to clear out the sawdust and all the other stuff. But if your chain gets so you've filed it quite a few times and still not cutting good chances are that raker is now sitting higher than your cutter and is keeping you from getting a good cut. So I probably do the raker every 4, fill-ups, but I carry the guide right in my toolbox, plus I carry a flat file to use on that. Now you get into the John Sureds. My brother-in-law loves the John Sureds, and one thing I noticed about their saw is that it is a high speed saw, if that makes any sense. Chain, it revs up really fast and hard, but it kind of bogs down once it gets into some good wood, But still a great saw, If you buy steel, Husqvarna, John Sured, they're all good saws, all right? So on that note, hopefully it's helped you guys out. Get the proper gear. Your life is worth something, right? So without having the proper gear on, you're just asking for it. It's not if, it's when. All right, you guys. Have a great day, and thanks so much for watching.